Just 5 minutes ago, the confirmation came quietly, but its impact was immediate. Just 5 minutes ago, the palace released news that no parent, no family, and no nation ever wants to hear: a tragic update concerning Prince Louis that has left those closest to the royal family shaken. For weeks, subtle signs had gone unnoticed by the public. Cancelled appearances, unexplained absences, and carefully worded statements all hinted that something was being managed behind closed doors. Today, those concerns were no longer left to speculation. The palace confirmed a reality that Prince William and Catherine have feared in silence. This was not an announcement made lightly. Every word was measured, every phrase chosen with care. That restraint alone revealed how serious the situation has become. The palace does not use the word tragic unless the circumstances demand honesty over reassurance. Prince Louis, known for his joyful spirit and infectious energy, has long symbolized innocence within the royal household. That is what makes this moment so heartbreaking. The contrast between the smiling child seen at public events and the reality now confirmed has deeply unsettled those who have followed his journey. Inside the palace, emotion has replaced routine. Family priorities have shifted. Schedules have been cleared. Attention has narrowed to what matters most: protecting a child while facing a truth no family can prepare for. This confirmation does not signal an ending, but it does mark a turning point. And once such truths are acknowledged, nothing remains unchanged. The decision to confirm tragic news about Prince Louis was not sudden, nor was it made under pressure from public curiosity. It was the result of weeks of internal deliberation, medical consultation, and emotional strain carried quietly by Prince William and Catherine. Long before the palace spoke, the family had already been living with uncertainty. At first, the signs were subtle. A missed appearance was explained away as routine. A family absence was attributed to private commitments. Within royal life, such explanations are common and rarely questioned. But behind the scenes, concern had begun to take root. What initially appeared manageable slowly became something that could no longer be dismissed. Medical professionals were brought in discreetly. Assessments were conducted away from public view, with every effort made to preserve normality for Prince Louis. William and Catherine were determined to shield their son not only from public attention, but from fear itself. They continued daily routines, creating moments of joy wherever possible, even as difficult conversations unfolded quietly around them. As evaluations continued, clarity replaced uncertainty, and clarity brought heartbreak. The reality confirmed by doctors was not one that could be solved with rest or time alone. It required acceptance, planning, and emotional resilience. For parents, this moment marks a profound shift. When hope must coexist with truth, the palace faced a difficult choice. Silence had protected privacy, but it was no longer sustainable. Questions were increasing. Speculation was growing. More importantly, the family recognized that honesty, handled with dignity, was the only way forward. Protecting Prince Louis meant controlling the narrative, not allowing it to spiral beyond compassion. Prince William's response was deeply personal. Known publicly for composure, he struggled privately with the instinct every parent shares: to fix what cannot be fixed. Yet he also understood the responsibility he carries as a future king. Balancing fatherhood and duty required a level of emotional discipline few are ever asked to master. Catherine's strength during this period has been described as quiet but unwavering. Her focus remained entirely on her children, particularly Prince Louis. She prioritized comfort, reassurance, and stability, even as her own fears had to be processed in private. Her role was not public-facing. It was foundational. When the palace finally chose to confirm the news, language mattered more than ever. The word tragic was not selected for effect. It reflected the seriousness of the situation without revealing details that remained deeply personal. The statement was designed not to invite speculation, but to acknowledge reality with honesty and restraint. Inside the palace, the emotional atmosphere changed immediately. Schedules were cleared, obligations were reassessed. What mattered now was presence, not protocol. Family members rallied quietly, offering support without intrusion. In moments like these, closeness is expressed through restraint rather than words. The decision to speak also reflected respect for the public. The royal family understands the deep connection many feel toward their children, especially Prince Louis, whose warmth has endeared him to millions. Acknowledging the situation prevented rumors from filling the silence with misinformation. Yet, even as confirmation was given, boundaries were firmly set. The palace did not invite questions, nor did it offer details beyond what was necessary. This was not secrecy. It was protection. There is a clear distinction between transparency and exposure, and the family chose compassion over curiosity. For William and Catherine, this moment represents a profound recalibration of life. Parenting does not pause for titles, and royal responsibility does not erase human vulnerability. Their focus has narrowed to what matters most, ensuring that Prince Louis feels safe, loved, and supported, regardless of circumstances. The palace's confirmation was not an ending, but an acknowledgement of a new reality, one that will shape decisions, priorities, and perspectives moving forward. It is a moment that demands empathy rather than analysis. This tragic confirmation reminds the world of a truth, often forgotten. Behind the symbolism of monarchy are parents facing the same fears, the same pain, and the same uncertainty as any other family. And for Prince Louis, the most important response now is not attention, but understanding. In the wake of the palace's confirmation, William and Catherine's world narrowed almost instantly. Public life, obligations, and long-planned commitments faded into the background as their focus shifted entirely toward protecting Prince Louis, not just physically, but emotionally. For them, this moment required a different kind of strength, one rooted in presence rather than visibility. The first priority was stability. Children sense change long before it is explained to them, and William and Catherine were determined that Prince Louis would not feel fear replacing familiarity. Routines were preserved wherever possible. Bedtimes, shared meals, quiet moments of play. These ordinary acts became anchors in an uncertain time. Inside the palace, adjustments were made subtly but deliberately. Staff interactions were softened. Movement was quieter. The atmosphere shifted to one of calm reassurance rather than concern. This was not accidental. William and Catherine understood that children absorb emotional cues. Even when words are carefully chosen, Catherine's role during this period has been deeply hands-on. She has always been a mother who values emotional openness, and that instinct guided her approach now. Conversations with Prince Louis were framed with gentleness and honesty appropriate to his age, ensuring he felt secure without being overwhelmed. Comfort came not through explanation, but through consistency. William, meanwhile, balanced two worlds that rarely collide so sharply: fatherhood and public responsibility. Privately, he allowed himself moments of vulnerability. Publicly, he remained composed. This contrast was not suppression. It was protection. Shielding his children from anxiety required him to carry much of it himself. Siblings played a quiet but meaningful role. George and Charlotte were included carefully, with emphasis placed on unity rather than worry. Family time became intentional. Shared laughter was encouraged. Moments of togetherness were prioritized, not as distraction, but as reinforcement of love and normalcy. The extended family responded with restraint and respect. Support was offered without intrusion. Presence was felt rather than announced. This collective sensitivity allowed William and Catherine the space they needed to focus inward, free from pressure or expectation. One of the most difficult aspects of this period has been managing visibility. The royal family is accustomed to public attention, but this moment required boundaries. William and Catherine made deliberate choices about what to show and what to withhold. Absence from public events was not avoidance. It was an act of protection. Behind palace walls, conversations were ongoing about how to navigate the future with care. These discussions were not about outcomes or timelines, but about quality of life, emotional resilience, and maintaining joy wherever possible. For William and Catherine, preserving childhood mattered more than maintaining appearances. The palace environment adapted accordingly. Spaces once used for formal engagements were repurposed for family comfort. Quiet corners became places of refuge. The grand setting of royal life softened, becoming more intimate, more human. Emotionally, there were moments of exhaustion. No parent emerges untouched from such reality. Yet even in fatigue, William and Catherine remained united. Their partnership deepened, strengthened by shared resolve and mutual understanding. Decisions were made together, grounded in empathy rather than urgency. What stands out most during this time is the absence of drama. There are no emotional displays, no public appeals, no attempts to shape sympathy. This restraint reflects a deliberate choice to center Prince Louis as a child, not a symbol. Family's core mission. William and Catherine continued to define their parenting by protection, love, and emotional honesty. They understand that while they cannot control circumstances, they can control environment, tone, and care. This period has also reshaped their perspective on duty. Royal responsibility remains, but it has been reframed through a deeply personal lens. Service for now begins at home. Leadership in this moment is expressed through quiet sacrifice rather than visibility. As days pass, the family continues to adapt. There is no sense of surrender, only adjustment. Hope exists, but it is grounded in realism. Joy is sought intentionally, cherished deeply, and protected fiercely. For Prince Louis, the palace is no longer just a place of tradition and protocol. It is a space carefully shaped to preserve his sense of safety, warmth, and belonging. That is the legacy William and Catherine are building now, one defined not by headlines, but by humanity. This is how they move forward, not by denying reality, but by meeting it with love. Following the palace's confirmation, a noticeable shift took place both within royal circles and across the nation. The response was not loud or dramatic. Instead, it unfolded with a quiet gravity that reflected the seriousness of the situation. In moments involving children, particularly one so publicly cherished, the instinct was not curiosity, but concern. Inside the palace, the approach remained measured. Senior aides coordinated carefully, ensuring that compassion guided every adjustment. There was no effort to manage emotion through messaging. Instead, the priority was consistency, maintaining dignity while allowing space for empathy to exist naturally. The palace understood that public trust depends not only on transparency, but on restraint. By confirming the tragic reality without expanding into detail, the institution signaled respect for both the public and the family. This balance prevented misinformation while preserving Prince Louis's right to privacy. Across the country, the reaction reflected that choice. Messages of support emerged quietly, without spectacle. Public figures refrained from commentary. Media coverage softened its tone. Even those who typically analyze royal developments adopted a more cautious approach. The collective response suggested a shared understanding. Some moments transcend commentary. For many, the news reawakened memories of past moments when the royal family faced personal hardship under public scrutiny. Yet there was also a recognition that this situation felt different. The palace's careful handling, combined with William and Catherine's visibly protective stance, reinforced the sense that the child's well-being was being placed above all else. Within royal households, beyond the immediate family, sensitivity increased. Engagements were reassessed. Schedules were modified. There was no formal announcement of change, but the adjustment was evident. The monarchy operates as a network, and moments like this ripple outward quietly. The emotional response within the family extended beyond immediate concern. There was reflection about duty, visibility, and the boundaries between public life and private pain. These reflections did not lead to retreat, but to recalibration. The monarchy has always evolved through such moments, often invisibly. Public sentiment also revealed a deeper shift. Increasingly, the monarchy is viewed not just as a symbol of tradition, but as a family navigating modern realities. The response to Prince Louis's situation reflected that change. Empathy replaced expectation. Patience replaced demand. This moment also influenced how future engagements are being considered. While royal duties will continue, there is a clear understanding that visibility must not come at the cost of emotional stability. The palace has become more deliberate, prioritizing sustainability over appearance. For William and Catherine, the national response offered quiet reassurance. They did not seek attention or sympathy, but the respectful tone validated their choice to speak honestly while maintaining boundaries. It reinforced that privacy, when requested with dignity, can be honored. The monarchy's future direction has been subtly influenced by this moment. There is a growing emphasis on humanity over ceremony, particularly when children are involved. This does not weaken the institution. It strengthens it by aligning it more closely with public values. Within palace walls, discussions continued about long-term considerations. These were not framed by fear, but by responsibility. How to protect childhood, how to preserve normalcy, how to ensure that compassion guides decisions even under scrutiny. What stands out most is the absence of controversy. In an age where reaction is often immediate and loud, the response to this confirmation has been notably restrained. That restraint reflects maturity, both from the institution and from the public thought as time passes. This moment will likely be remembered as a test of balance. The monarchy faced a deeply personal challenge while remaining visible to a nation that feels connected to its children. By choosing honesty without exposure, it set a standard for how such moments can be. Handled. The palace did not ask for. Understanding. The nation offered it anyway. This shared response has created a rare pause, a space where empathy takes precedence over speculation. It is within that space that the royal family continues to move forward, quietly and carefully. The confirmation about Prince Louis has changed priorities, reshaped expectations, and softened public discourse. It has reminded many that behind every crown are parents, behind every title is a child, and behind every institution is humanity. And in that recognition, a deeper connection has quietly taken root as the days move forward. The confirmation about Prince Louis settles into something deeper than news. It becomes a defining emotional marker for the royal family, not because of public reaction, but because of the quiet changes it has already created within their private world. These are the moments that reshape how families see time, priorities, and one another. For William and Catherine, this experience has altered the rhythm of their lives. Their decisions are now guided less by schedules and more by sensitivity. Each day is approached with greater intention. Ordinary moments, a shared meal, a walk, a laugh, have taken on new meaning. What once blended into routine now feels precious. Parenthood, even under normal circumstances, demands resilience. Under the weight of public visibility, that demand becomes heavier. Yet William and Catherine have responded not by retreating emotionally, but by becoming more present. Their focus is not on what lies ahead, but on what can be protected today. That perspective has become their quiet strength. Prince Louis, surrounded by love and care, remains at the heart of every decision. The adults around him have adapted their language, their energy, and their expectations to preserve his sense of safety. Childhood, fragile and fleeting, is being guarded fiercely. That effort is not loud, but it is constant. The emotional impact extends beyond the immediate household. Grandparents, relatives, and close confidants feel the shift. Conversations are more thoughtful. Silences are more meaningful. Support is offered without pressure. In moments like these, family bonds are tested not by distance, but by restraint, knowing when to step forward and when to simply remain available. For the monarchy as an institution, this moment has reinforced an important truth. Strength is not diminished by vulnerability. In fact, allowing space for humanity strengthens public trust. By acknowledging reality without exposing intimacy, the royal family demonstrated emotional maturity rather than detachment. this experience will inevitably shape William's future leadership. Moments of personal hardship often define how leaders approach responsibility. Compassion, patience, and understanding are learned not from ceremony, but from lived experience. This chapter of his life, though painful, will inform how he balances duty with empathy in the years ahead. Catherine's influence during this time has been deeply grounding. Her instinct to nurture emotional stability, particularly for her children, has set the tone within the household. She has shown that leadership within a family is not about control, but about care. That influence will continue to ripple outward quietly. Publicly, the monarchy will move on. Engagements will resume. Appearances will return. Yet internally, this moment will remain. It will be referenced not in statements, but in perspective. Decisions will be made with greater awareness of fragility, resilience, and the true cost of visibility. What the public may never fully see is the emotional endurance required to maintain composure during such times. The royal family is trained to present steadiness, but that steadiness is sustained by private courage. It is upheld by choosing grace when fear would be easier, and dignity when vulnerability feels exposed. The legacy of this moment will not be measured in headlines. It will be measured in how the family protects one another moving forward, in how childhood is preserved, in how duty is balanced with compassion, in how leadership evolves through lived experience rather than inherited expectation for many who follow the royal family. This confirmation has prompted reflection beyond royalty. It has reminded people everywhere that no status shields families from hardship. That shared understanding has softened public discourse, replacing speculation with empathy. As time